Hello, and welcome to this episode of TMDWP, which is Castrovelvet and next time's Fall to Doomsday. That should make sense to those of you who know how Series 19 was shot when you see the next episode. My hope with this episode is to return some sanity and a sense of perspective to fandom on the subject of regeneration limits. As you'll know, in an upcoming episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, it will be revealed by the Doctor, albeit in a rather throwaway fashion, that he can regenerate 507 times. This is not a problem, even though it appears to contradict established continuity. You see, the thing about being a Doctor Who fan is that you very soon realise there is no such thing as established continuity in the world of Doctor Who. Let me take you on a brief journey through the many contradictions involving regeneration over the years. In the War Games, when we're first introduced to the Time Lords, the Doctor describes them thus.
The Time Lords are an immensely civilized race. We can control our own environment. We can live forever, barring accidents, and we have the secret of space-time travel.
At this point in the show's history, the concept of a Time Lord dying of natural causes is just not an option. Of course, we have seen many of those accidents almost every time the Doctor returns to Gallifrey. Regeneration is not the key to immortality, as the press who were reporting the Sarah Jane story seem to think. The problem comes when the 12 regeneration limit is introduced in The Deadly Assassin, as the driving force behind the Master's actions in that story. It wouldn't be so prominent if it hadn't then been used as a plot element in future stories. In Mordred Undead, for example, the Doctor's dilemma revolves around the fact that he only has 8 regenerations left.
Doctor, why can't you help them?
Don't you understand? If I did, it would be the end of me as a Time Lord.
What do you mean?
I can only regenerate 12 times. I have already done so 4 times.
So?
Don't you see? 8 of them, 8 of me.
They want your remaining regenerations.
It's the only way to end their mutation.
And in the Twin Dilemma, Asmail uses his last regeneration to kill Mestor.
I am dying. I am regenerated.
You can't! You've used up your allotted number of lives.
You think I do not know that, Doctor?
However, there are ways round the limit also presented in the classic series, in The Five Doctors, for example.
We can offer you an alternative to your renegade existence.
Regeneration. A complete new life cycle.
This is no idle promise, as we learn about the Master's eventual return in The Sound of Drums.
What happened to you?
The Time Lords only resurrected me because they knew I'd be the perfect warrior for a time war.
The often overlooked Tom Baker story, Underworld, also throws some interesting light on the subject of regeneration.
We've been in mission 100,000 years, Doctor. The ship wasn't designed for that. Neither were we. Each one of us has regenerated 1,000 times. Have you any idea what that means?
Well, I've been through it 2 or 3 times, not pleasant.
1,000 times plus, Doctor.
Here we see a race called the Minions that the Time Lords gave a mechanical form of regeneration to, seemingly without limit. So as you can see, the seeds of a solution to the regeneration limit are already there in the show's past, and could easily be elaborated upon by any new production team. The fact we've been presented with a new limit of 507 without any explanation is probably what many are annoyed about. But hey, they never explained how the Master kept on coming back in the 1980s, and we're not bothered about that, are we? The bottom line is this. The regeneration limit was invented to tell a good story back in 1976, and now, 34 years later, that limit, if adhered to rigidly, has the potential to stop any story being made, let alone a good one. It's therefore a good thing to move on and remember that it's impossible to retcon every aspect of the show's history, and I pity the fan who can't. Oh, and just a quick thank you to @DadsArmyPodcast, @HasW, and @Troclophane, who helped me out when I got a little needy on 247 followers on Twitter.